Hello and happy Wednesday! Today we're welcoming recently married bride Alicia onto the Busy Bride podcast. Alicia got married this past August at Normandy Farms in Bluebell, Pennsylvania. Her and her husband's wedding day was so much fun. They had really big wedding parties, like 10 people each, and they put a lot of emphasis on dancing and celebrating throughout the whole entire day. And besides all of the partying and dancing, Alicia has some really great wedding planning tips for fellow Type A planner brides. I cannot wait for you to hear about this awesome wedding. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Busy Bride podcast. I'm your host, Gabriella Marie, and I created this podcast to help you research vendors and learn valuable advice as you plan the most special and true to you wedding day of your dreams. Let's get started. Welcome to the show, Alicia. Thank you so much for joining.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Of course, I'm so excited to chat with you about your wedding. We'll do a quick fun fact question rapid fire thing to start off. I already know your name. You're Alicia.
Yeah.
But where are you based? Where'd you get married? How long you've been married for? And maybe like a little fun fact.
Oh, sure. So I'm based in Levittown, PA, outside of Philly. We got married in August 2023, so not too long ago. And then I guess a fun fact is my husband and I, in most like fun fact ways, are polar opposites of each other. So the only thing that we could decide on for our fun facts for our little wedding cards was that we both love cannolis.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
fun fact.
And that's so funny.
Yeah,
Like,
we're like night and day. Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah. And being around you guys, you would never know that
Yeah.
you are opposites because you're very similar. Uh, you're happy people and you love to celebrate and just enjoy all of the
Oh
things.
yeah.
So
I like to think it's like
I would never know.
all the things that matter were the same in, but like all like the fun fact, like little things were total opposites. Like I love winter, he loves summer, like those kind of things. So it's fun.
That's so
Yeah.
funny. I think that's cool though, because then you get to experience so many different things in life because you get to show each other
It's
the things that you love.
absolutely.
That's amazing. Love that. So I photographed your wedding and your engagement session. It was so much fun.
Nice.
I loved everything you guys did. I love your personalities. I feel like fun is just the biggest word that comes to mind. Lots of smiles, lots of celebrating. Like, there was not a dull moment
Yeah. It
the
was
whole
so much
entire
fun.
time.
It was a really good time.
I'm, I'm so glad you think that too. So let's start with engagement.
Yeah.
Um, Share your proposal story first because those are always super fun. And then how long were you engaged for after that?
So it's funny. So I am a type A planner. So I tend to like take the lead just naturally in like any sort of like event, calendar planning, anything that kind of comes up. And it works well for us. And so for the engagement, I had no idea what was happening, which is not normally my like comfort place in an event. But it was really fun. So we went out to dinner and it was like a typical Friday date night. And it was so typical in the sense that like I picked the restaurant, we went, it was super casual. And then we came back to the house and Derek was like so tense on the entire ride home. And I was like, is he like feeling okay? Like, I don't know what's going on. And then we get to our door. We had just bought a house like a year before. And so we get to our door and I had been planning that weekend for, it was Derek's birthday. So we were having a birthday party for him. So I had spent like 2 days just scrubbing our house, like top to bottom, planning everything, getting the food ready. And so the party was supposed to be the next day. And we get to our house and the doors open and there's like rose petals everywhere and like these candles lining all the way to the back door. And I felt really bad. The first thing I said was like, why is there stuff on the ground? Like I just cleaned. Why is there stuff on the ground? And Derek's like, just keep walking. Like he knows me well. So obviously he was like, just keep walking. So then I was like, oh, it's romantic. Like it's cute. Like I had to snap back into it. So I was like, oh my God, party planning. Like I have to clean all this up. And so anyway, so then I walk out to the back. It was so sweet. He had gotten my mom and his parents and my cousin and her husband to set up this entire like beautiful kind of backdrop in our backyard. It was like a marry me lit up sign with like my favorite flower is pink rose. So I think it was like every pink rose in the town. Um, and it was like lights and beautiful. And I turn around, he's kneeling. I forget what he said because I blacked out, but I'm sure it was something really sweet. And then I said yes. And then we were engaged. So it was really sweet. And then my plan was to get married like 6 months later. Like I didn't want to wait long. I was just like, let's go, let's do this. And then we ended up being engaged for 16 months.
Oh my
Over a
gosh, add
year.
another 10 months onto it.
Yeah. So it worked out really well. Like everything worked out perfectly as it was supposed to be. But yeah, so that's kind of how our engagement worked. And then we didn't really tell anyone. So because we were having the party the next day, I don't super love attention, and so I didn't really want to tell anyone. So we like called people who weren't in town, but anyone who was coming to the party, I didn't tell them, and I just waited till they noticed the ring at the party for them to be like, "Oh my god, what's that?" And I was like, "Oh, we got engaged." So like, what are you having to eat?
Yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. It was very casual. I tried to play it low key, but it was fun.
That's
Yeah,
amazing. Oh my gosh, it's like a de facto his engagement celebration party
yeah.
the next day.
And
Just
he loved it because he technically didn't have to plan an engagement party. I planned his birthday, which ended up being our engagement party. So he was like, "It's the best of both worlds." I was like, "That's great. I love it too."
that's
Yeah,
amazing.
it
I love that so much, and that's such a sweet proposal story too.
was really
Yeah, I love that. So, you're planning on being engaged for 6 months,
fun.
but then you added a whole 10 months. Like, what happened there? What made you make the engagement longer? Like, what were the decisions there?
So we got engaged in March of 2022. Yeah, March of 2022. Oh my god, that feels like so long ago. March of 2022, and then my plan was to get married by like October of 2022. And it was kind of the time of all the brides from COVID were had all their dates pushed back. So venues were already like inundated with all these like extra events going on, and um we I shopped at many venues, and the one that I loved and Derek ended up loving as well, they didn't have any availability until 2023. And then I started realizing I did like a budget of how much things were going to cost, and I was like, oh, we also need time to save for said wedding. And so it ended up working out better because it was way more stress free. We had at that point then like a whole like season to kind of like celebrate and relax, so we could like plan for 6 months, and then we could take 6 months off and just like be engaged. So it ended up working out really well. But yeah, it was not my original plan, but you know it was better in the long run.
Yeah, the wedding was amazing. Yeah, and your venue was gorgeous too. Was the venue that you loved that had no availability, was that ended up being the wedding venue you chose?
Yeah, so it's actually
Okay.
really funny. I had gone to that venue throughout like weddings in the past. I think I've been to like 3 weddings there in like the span of like 10 years. So I always really loved it. And I had randomly after one wedding reached out to their event coordinator to be like, how much is a wedding there? Like, what's the ballpark cost? And at this point, I was very single. I was just curious, and so they like sent me, the packet and whatever. And throughout the years, I would like check in and be like, oh, like has it gone up with like I was just always really curious, and it was the same event manager that we ended up. So I didn't tell Derek anything because I didn't want him to be like have a biased opinion based off of how much I loved the venue already. So we went to go look at it. We met the event coordinator who I had been talking to since like 2018, 2017. And she was like, oh my God, it's so good to finally meet you. Like, I've been, talking to you for forever. And Derek's like, what? Like, you crazy. Like, that's not like, what? I wasn't even around then. And I was just like, please don't get scared. Like, I was just curious as, a single gal. But it ended up working out really well. And when she did the tour, they kind of explained like everything that's included, everything that they provide. And it was like a really kind of like great comfort for us to like be able to just once we're there, it's like they take care of everything. So that was really nice.
Yeah, that makes it a big deal.
So yeah, so that was it. That was the venue that we checked. They didn't have availability till the following August. And our Derek did not want to get married in the winter. I did not want to get married in the summer. Um, and so the end of August was like as close to fall as we could get, and we're like done. Sign us up. That's it.
Perfect. Love the
Yeah,
compromise.
yeah.
Also, we haven't seen the venue name. It's Normandy Farms.
Yeah, sorry, Normandy Farms is, it's in Bluebell, PA. It's gorgeous. And they do, I mean, a great job. I always keep thinking because I made lists and plans and, like, checklists for everybody to try to make life easier, and I keep forgetting, like, it's my 1st wedding. It's, like, their 3rd wedding that weekend. So I'm like, it's like a well-oiled machine. They got it down.
Yes, they definitely know what they're doing there. And they're one of those venues where they have multiple weddings going on the weekend,
Yeah.
and they have different spaces for weddings too. So I felt like even though there were multiple weddings happening there, like I actually saw my photographer friend
Oh my gosh!
across the way. It's like I did the other photographer
Oh,
there.
that's so cool.
You could like see them from a distance, but you never like fully ran into another wedding. Like it
Absolutely.
was still pretty much separate. So they did a really good job there, and I felt like you guys were taken care of the whole time, despite there being other weddings there too.
Oh yeah, they have enough staff where because part of their package is they give you like a event coordinator for like that day when you're there, and then they also give you like a maitre d and an assistant, and there's so many staff that their job is just to make sure that you're doing well, everything is running smoothly, and they did an impeccable job. But they have that per wedding, so it's like there was no one that was like jumping between brides. It was just all about us, which I was like, that's fantastic. But I was also like, we're good. Like I'm good. I'm good. We're happy. We're chilling. But yeah, they were fantastic.
Yes, I totally feel you when you say like, "Oh, we don't need that. Like, we're okay."
Yeah.
I feel like I would say that too, but it is important to have the like undivided attention on your wedding day because there's so many moving parts
Oh,
and like so much to think about, and they know what they're doing. So having somebody completely devoted to you or multiple people devoted to you on the wedding day does make a difference, even though like personally you might want to be like, "Oh, I'm
It
okay."
was it was so nice, and I will say, like, because they they're so good at it, but they also talked to, like, every vendor that we had, like, our DJ, like, everybody was just kind of, like, in constant communication, so I didn't have to feel like the middleman, which was so lovely, and they wanna make you feel special, so even our server who was bringing us dinner, I guess, was like perusing the room before we were in there. And we had little, like I said, fun fact little cards on every table as kind of like an icebreaker if everyone didn't know each other. And one of them was that our favorite dessert is cannolis. And so she ran to the bakery and she was like, I saw that you had cannolis as your favorite dessert. So she ran to, I guess, the bakery in the hotel and or in the kitchen and got a whole tray of like really amazing cannolis and just brought them to us. And she's like, this is just to like make you feel like happy and excited. I was like, as if like we weren't already there. It's like, that's amazing. So of course we ate every single one of them, but oh, they were so good. But it was just so sweet. Like everything was just a little extra special.
That's amazing. I love that detail so much.
Yeah.
That's the kind of special attention that you not only like want to have in your wedding day, but that you deserve to have because like it's a big celebration. Getting married is huge.
Yeah.
And so having people like just dote on you and make you feel super special is just cake icing on top of the cake.
Right? It was so good. And I always think like that was just her Saturday night of like work. But I was like, how amazing was that? Like she, just wanted to make everything better. So that was really fun.
Yes. So everybody make sure you book a venue that cares about you.
Yeah. Go to Normandy Farms.
Woo! Makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the wedding day itself.
Ooh,
You can go into like the vibe of the day, your plan for the day, like just go ahead and describe it.
I loved our wedding day. So I mean, it's early. It's an early morning for the ladies mostly, the guys. So we had a welcome party the night before that was near Normandy Farm because one of the beautiful things about that we needed was it's a hotel and a venue. So that was really important for us because we have so many out of town guests coming in and a lot of our even like local family stayed because they just wanted to kind of like be there for the weekend. And so Derek ended up staying at our house, which is like 40 minutes away, and then I stayed at the hotel. So all the ladies got ready at the hotel in the morning, and it is early, but um, it was fantastic. So I made for like the entire year, I kind of like cultivated this like early morning playlist that was just all good vibes, all like happy, kind of nostalgic, early 2000s, or even later throwbacks. But was really fun. All the girls were chilling. I got everyone like matching sweatshirts you could or didn't have to wear, it didn't matter. Um, but just kind of like a very relaxed vibe. And then we had about 4 hours. I got so much food for everyone because that's one of my biggest pet peeves is being stuck getting your hair and makeup done and having nothing to eat because then I'm like, it's
Amen.
a long day and you are gonna start off on a really bad note if like everyone's hangry. So we had a lot of food and then we had a lot of coffee, water, juice, and then we basically got dressed and then got into the shuttle, the van, and it was one of my favorite parts because we kind of kicked it off with like a karaoke dance party. And again, I was the DJ, and I just kind of put on all my favorite like nostalgic rom com kind of feel good Mamma Mia songs, and we literally just had a solid dance party for like 45 minutes on the drive, which I know you were an amazing part of. And then once we got to the church, we were in the back of the church. The shuttle then went and picked up all the guys that were only like a 6 minute drive away, brought them back. So I was hiding in the back of the church. And one of my favorite parts of the ceremony was we had a string quartet that just kind of played because my biggest fear was music stopping like halfway through people walking because I've seen it happen. It's just like you just tense up. And so they were amazing. So I just got to sit in the back of the church and listen to them play as like people walked in. So relaxing. One of my biggest suggestions is to continue to eat because I get hangry real fast. And so my mom, bless her heart, we got Chick-fil-A as like part of the food for the morning. And I asked my mom to bring Ziploc bags so she could package up the Chick-fil-A. So she brought that. So I was just eating Chick-fil-A in the back of the church, waiting to get things started. Most relaxed. It was so much fun. I had all my gals there. So just hanging out. We took a few photos. And then once things got started, it was like bing, bang, boom. And my biggest fear of the entire day was walking down the aisle because, again, it's so much attention. I kept making the joke where I was going to send my mom down because my mom walked me down the aisle and my mom loves attention and thrives in it. And so does Derek. So he loved walking down. And I was like, I'll send my mom down. I'll take the long way and I'll meet you down there.
Oh
But
my
we ended up
gosh.
walking down. I did it. It was fine. We didn't cry. Life was good. And so once we got down there, I was like, all right, we're down. We're good. Like, it's not in my hands anymore. I was like, my uncle was the deacon. He did the entire ceremony. It was lovely. So I was like, all right, like the spotlight's on him. I can relax. Everyone did their readings really well. It was really sweet. Um, and yeah, we just kind of like cruised through it. And then once we walked back down the aisle, we did a receiving line, which was really nice because, again, a lot of attention. Sometimes I get like social anxiety, especially when it's all about like you know, like everyone wants to come up to you, has to talk to you. And so my way to kind of skip going from table to table at the reception, because Derek and I are both like hardcore, we love to dance. Like we will not leave that dance floor. So to avoid having to get off the dance floor, we did a receiving line at the end of the church. So everyone basically, I'm sure it was annoying for people who just wanted to leave, but everyone basically had to get in a line and say hi to Derek and I, and then it was my mom and it was his parents. And then the wedding party went first. And I was like, I feel like I'm going to be like corralling cats, like trying to get them all together if I don't put them in one spot. So I had them all go first. And then I was like, get on the bus. So we had drinks, we had beer, we had snacks, we had everything. I was like, just get on the bus. It's air conditioned. You can eat and drink and dance, like have a party. So that was great. And then we said hi to everybody, which was lovely, but also like so overwhelming. So I was glad we got that done. So I was like, ooh, rip off the band-aid. We are good. It was great to see everyone. And then we took photos. We got back on the bus, and that's kind of when I felt like I could like take a breath because I was like, whew, we are married. It's done. And then we just kind of partied from there on. So again, it was a whole, at this point, it was even crazier because now we have the whole bridal party because we each had 10. So it's a 22-person bridal party at this point. And I was like, it's a full bus. So it was
Yes, I just want to emphasize how amazing that bus ride was. 22 people all jamming out to the best music, drinks in hand, just married bride and groom. The vibes were incredible. So, highly recommend getting a party bus with your friends. Like,
it
it was
was
amazing.
it was so much. And I will say, as a type A planner, like for up until that point, I had done every playlist, every like, kind of cultivated every kind of moment. And Derek's best friend Colin Faraday, who is a big music buff, um, really asked to do that playlist, and I was like, no. And he was like, come on, come on, come on. So I was like, all right, I'll give you like three suggestions for songs that like if I could hear, that'd be great. And he did that whole thing. I was like, he rocked it. It was amazing. We still listen to it. And so I was like, shout out to him because he really did kind of fight for that, and he did such a good job. So yeah, so it was just such a fun. I was like, we could just like keep going around the block. Like I don't need to get off. Like this is a fun time. So it was good. And then I will say one of the things that helped was I had assigned, I made a PowerPoint for everyone, for both the guys and then the girls, and I assigned jobs to literally everyone that was in the bridal party. And they were easy jobs that tried to play to your strengths. So like one was Zach and Justin were in charge of like getting ice and beer, and then someone else was in charge of picking up the Chick-fil-A tray. And like you're in charge of making sure the bus is clean. You're in charge of making sure our house doesn't look like it was trashed. The one person was in charge of like making sure my veil didn't get like left at the church, those kind of things. So that also really helped because I was like, if we have 20 people, I'm going to put them to work. And they were all little things, but I think that also helped alleviate a lot of my stress because then I wasn't worried about really much going forward.
Yeah. And that makes sense because there's all those little teeny tiny details that you don't might not think about if you're not like a super forward thinking
Yeah,
person. And you had a venue coordinator, but you went to the church to get married,
right,
so they weren't with you at the church. And
right.
then the party bus is a whole separate thing. The guys got ready at your house. So there's other places and things going on besides just the venue. So assigning them the jobs is really, really smart to take care of the things that a coordinator would have taken care of.
Oh yeah, especially because I think in the day, everyone wants to ask like, "What can I do to help? What do I want? Like, what do you need?" And whenever people ask that, I always go blank. I'm like, I don't know. But then I'm always like still running around like trying to get everything done myself. So it was nice to give them the jobs ahead of time. So I was like, everyone had it and rocked it, and they really did a great job. They made the day amazing as well. So it was really fun. So yeah, and then we went and did the whole reception, which was fantastic. And all the photos. The photos were so much fun, which is not normal for me to say because I hate being in front of the camera. So it's like the photos really were such a good time. So that was
I'm
amazing. That was
so
all you.
glad.
Yeah, that was all you.
That makes me so happy. What was like your favorite part of the photos? Because when we got back to the venue, we did wedding party pictures where it was like everybody all together, and then split up bridesmaids, groomsmen, and then we did just bride and groom portraits, and then you guys chilled before cocktail hour. So, what was your favorite part of all of that? Like, what was the most fun?
I loved taking photos with my girls, and it's so funny because you can so see the different energy levels between the guys and the girls when we were split up. The guys are like busy taking like the goofier the better for them, whereas the girls were like, oh, like let's pose this way, like we're so different, which is fun. But I loved when we all came together and we did like the big group shots. There was one where we were like kissing in the middle and then everyone like runs at us and like screams, and I was watching because we had a videographer who like filmed that, and I was watching, I was like, that's terrifying, like it was so crazy. And because being in the minute, all I heard was like people screaming coming closer to me, but watching it I was like, that's gorgeous, like I love that, and the photos were so much fun. But my favorite photos personally were just the bride and groom ones because there's so much less pressure. Like I'm not worried about like, is everyone hot, is everyone okay. I had two pregnant bridesmaids, and I was like, "Oh my god, sit down, please." Like, so when it was just Derek and I was like, "Oh, we're good. Like, we can walk around forever." Like, it was so nice. So that was my
I
favorite
love
part.
that so
Yeah.
much.
Oh no, my favorite part was the mist. Was the mist
The mist.
from for our engagement shoot when you brought it was like the canned aerosol mist.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like an aerosol spray. So when it's sunny out and it's specifically when there's rays of light peeking through like windows or tree branches. If you spray this aerosol can, then it looks like all misty and just very, very cool.
it was so that made my favorite shot, which we used for our say thank you note. We used it for something recently, and it's my favorite shot. We're getting it framed for our house, but it's like us. I think we're kissing or we're just like nose to I don't know, we're very close. And it's like the trees with the mist. And my cousin was even like, was there like a cloud? Like she was like, what happened? Like, how did that work? I was like, no, my photographer just brought
Magic.
like mist. Yeah, I was like, it was so so cool. But I think that's the most fun. That was probably the coolest
Oh,
part.
that makes me so
And
happy.
that's my favorite photo. Yeah,
Yes.
it's so pretty.
I remember I brought the mist to your engagement session because I had just gotten it and I really wanted to use it, and you guys ended up loving it
It's so
so
much
much.
fun.
So I was like, made a note like a year in advance. Okay, bring mist to Alicia and Derek's wedding.
It
Like
was
I
so much
must.
fun. It was so so good.
I'm so glad. And that picture too was underneath a tree in the parking lot. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't even like a photogenic part of the venue, but the way the light was coming in behind you and the way the tree was with the venue kind of behind it, you couldn't really see cars. It just worked out.
you
And
made
I'm
it
so
work.
glad. It's
It
also one of
was
my favorite
it
pictures,
was
like
so
favorite
good.
portraits of the year.
It was so pretty. Yeah, we loved it.
Love that so much.
Yeah,
Um, and then something cool you guys also did was that you had like a private like letter vow reading moment. Why
yeah.
don't you talk about that?
So again, I'm not a fan of attention. And even though Derek is, he doesn't like to like be like vulnerable in front of people, which I get because I don't think many people do. And so, excuse me. So we did our classic vows, which were great, um, at the ceremony. And then one thing we both loved was we each wrote letters to each other, and we went to our bridal suite um, with just you guys, and we basically just no, we read our letters to each other. I think we were going to exchange them, and then it was too weird. Like we wanted to like read, like I wanted to hear it in his voice. So we ended up reading our letters to each other, which was really sweet, and that was really nice because it was also like a moment where we could just like kind of be away from everyone because we wanted to be a part of the party as much as possible, but sometimes you just need a minute to like breathe. I think I touched up my makeup. Like it was kind of like a moment where we can just kind of like be ourselves and relax for a second. And it was only like 10 minutes of the day. But that, and then one of my favorite things was 10 minutes before cocktail hour ended, we did a private first dance because I kept seeing all those. I was on wedding TikTok for like a year. It was a lot, but everyone kept talking about the final dance at the end of the night when you like push everyone out and you do a dance at the end, which I'm really glad we didn't do because we were so sweaty by the end of the night because we were dancing so hard. So what we did was 10 minutes before cocktail hour ended and the reception started, we went into the room. We got to see like all our hard work kind of come together. And then we picked a private first dance song and we got to dance to it with each other. That was like one of the sweetest moments. That's when we both cried. It was really sweet. And then yeah, and then I think those are our two kind of like private moments together, which is really, really nice because then it's like those are the memories. And it's funny, I was telling my mom about that. I showed her the picture of our private vow reading, and she goes, "I didn't know you guys did that." I said, "That's the point. If I told people, everyone would have followed us, everyone would have watched." And so I was like, "That's why we didn't tell anyone." But it was really sweet. I think those are two kind of highlights of the day.
I'm so glad. And I'm glad you had those moments too,
Yeah.
because it can be very easy to just like be in the middle of everything the whole wedding day and then you get home and you're like, oh my gosh, we like haven't even like spoken to each other one on one, like
Really,
privately.
really, and that's I think we talked through our entire like private first dance. I was like, it was just so nice because we did actively try. We have this tendency where when we go to a party, like we're so comfortable that we just kind of like, leave and kind of like do our own thing. And then we check in throughout the night. But we were actively during the welcome party and the wedding, like we will not leave each other's sides because my worst fear was like, oh my gosh, at the end of the night, we're gonna share what each of our wedding day was, but they're so like separate accounts. And I was like, I want us to like enjoy the day together. So that was also really nice. So we could like be together, but this was like just us, so we could chat and hang out. So yeah, so I love those moments.
I love that too. Very happy for you there.
Oh, thanks.
And then going into your reception,
Oh my,
so you had the private first dance, and
yeah.
then your like first dance in front of everybody was it choreographed?
So we had like basic like so there was like one turn sequence that we had choreographed and we had practiced just like dancing, but every time we did it, it was different. And we were just kind of like, oh well, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. So that was the only thing we knew for sure was gonna happen at that point, because I had also cut the music for each, like for his and his mom's dance, from my mom's dance, and then for us. And I just kept cutting it shorter and shorter and shorter because I was like, the more we kept dancing, the more I was like, I don't want to be out there for that long. Like, no one, I don't want to watch. I don't even want to do this, so no one's gonna want to watch it. And so we it was only, I think, like 2 minutes max, and that was like enough time for people to fade in and fade out as well. So they were nice and short, which was nice. But no, our entrance, I didn't realize this. Again, I think I like blacked out, but watching back the video, our entrance, our bridesmaids and our groomsmen like did it all with their entrances, and they went
They did.
hard. Yeah, like lifting people, throwing people. But our entrance, I didn't realize like we danced longer than I think we were like supposed to. And our DJ just played it until I stopped and I looked at him and I was like, I'm done. And so that was, I didn't realize that until I was watching it back, and I was like, oh wow, we did like a dance and then our dance. And that was really fun. But yeah, our first dance was, it was a really good time. It was more upbeat, and then our private dance was the slow sway. So that was good.
Yes, it looked very fun to watch. Like I really enjoyed just observing the first dance too. It was super fun, very high energy, and it looked choreographed, even though I guess it wasn't like fully choreographed. Just the way you kept doing that spin move,
Yeah.
and you very much infused your personalities into it, and your eyes were locked on each other. So like that just helped you just be fully yourselves, and it was very fun to watch.
Oh yeah, I also learned because I had never practiced it in that dress, and as we got closer to dancing, Derek kept like spinning me. At one point, he wanted to do a lift, and I was like, I don't see this going well for us on the day. And so the one thing I learned again from TikTok was if you put a comforter on over your head, and then you put a belt around the center, which Derek had to do because I couldn't see, and then you push it down, it makes like a poofy skirt. So we practiced with that, and then I made him put a suit jacket on because I was like, if we spin a lot, I don't want you to like rip a seam or like something to happen, or if you step on my dress, or I don't know, maybe I'm not comfortable moving around in this. Like we would have to figure something else out. So we practiced dancing around to the song in those kind of like situations, so that way we could see. But on the day of, I realized how much my dress like flared out, made me feel like a princess. So I just kept spinning no matter what I did. I was like, I'm just gonna turn.
That's such a good tip with the comforter and the suit jacket because those are
Yeah.
like the most things that you need to get used to with dancing.
Oh yeah.
Um, and your dress was gorgeous. It
Oh
was like silk, so like kind of smooth silk on the bottom, and it did poof out.
yeah.
Um, and it was very, very princessy. I
It felt,
agree.
yeah, I felt like I was gonna bring a second outfit again to change into because we're dancing fools. But I was just like, I'm never gonna wear this again. I'm gonna wear it for the entire night. Like, why would I change? And let me tell you, it was. I had a spray tan. It got all over the dress by the end. I'm like, who cares? Like the photos were done. We're just chilling. So it was a good time. But yeah, it definitely did its job.
Good. I'm glad. And you also had some of the most amazing shoes to go
Oh,
with your dress.
yeah.
You need to talk about those.
So I'm not a heels, like a strappy stiletto gal. I love a heel boot, and so even though it was August, I knew, even just from being in weddings where you have like it's hot and you have to wear heels, which is fine, but my feet just don't work well in them. I'm not comfortable, so I decided I got Betsy Johnson rhinestone cream boots, heeled booties, and I was obsessed with them. I wore them the entire night. Even doing the reveal with the bridesmaids, I like kicked my leg up really high so they could see my shoes. Like it was so much fun. And then I got the matching rhinestone cream sneakers to wear, which I didn't even end up putting on because I was so obsessed with my boots and like how they twirled with my dress, and it was so much fun. So I loved my shoes because it made me feel like a princess. So it was fun.
Yeah, and it's important to also be comfortable enough to
Yeah.
dance and walk around all day because there's lots of walking and dancing going
Oh,
on.
yeah, and they were so comfortable. Yeah,
I'm so glad. That's amazing.
it was so much fun.
Um, okay, in reflecting on the wedding day, the planning process, did anything like stand out to you that kind of surprised you? Does that make sense?
Everyone kept telling me it was gonna go by so fast, and it didn't. I felt like the day. I mean, the day was like any other normal day. Like it felt Like, I think I was so in the moment for everything and conscious to try to be in the moment that I felt like the day went by, like, at an appropriate pace, and by the end of the night, I was like, "Whew, man," I'm like, "I'm good. I'm done." Like, that was great. And then we went to an after party, and I was just like, "Man, I just kinda wanna go to sleep." But I can't I was like, "I can't. Everyone I know and love is, like, in this room right now." So, um, it was it went by at, like, a normal speed, which I wasn't expecting. And I think it was just so much fun to get to celebrate. Like, at no other time do I feel like that many people that I from both of our lives, like, from our whole lives, will be kind of like in one place at one time. So that was really fun to kind of get around and like see everyone. And then doing the welcome party was nice because I got more time to chat with everyone. And then the wedding, we just danced.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really cool because I do also hear that it flies by. It flies by for me as the photographer,
Oh, I bet.
but I've never been married, so I've never experienced wedding day like myself.
Yeah.
So that's cool to know that you got to fully enjoy every single part of it.
Yeah. And I think one thing someone did tell me before was even if you can't be, because sometimes being in the moment's really hard. If you can't be in the moment for the whole day, pick like two moments you really want to focus on, like narrowing in and like focused to just be like enjoy every second of it. And so that was really good advice because then I could like mentally just be like, okay, like these are two big focal points. I want to make sure I kind of commit to memory. But the
What
whole
were
day
those
was
moments
amazing.
for you?
One of the moments was the letter reading where we could just like be ourselves. And then the other one was our first dance because I was really excited for that and also so nervous, but like it was so much fun.
Good. I'm glad. And those are two moments where it was like you guys are focused on each other the most too.
Oh yeah, it was so much fun. But yeah, those are my two moments. But I felt like I was in the moment for so much more of the day than I expected. Also because I didn't have my phone on me. Like I didn't have really anything to kind of distract me, so it was nice.
Love that so much.
Yeah.
So we talked about all the ways that your wedding day was absolutely incredible. Is there anything you would have like done differently looking back, not knowing going into your wedding day?
Um, hmm. I think I would have I don't know. I think I would have drank more water in the like I drank so much water in the beginning of the day, but I think I would have like made sure I like actively drank water like after the ceremony on the butt like just because I you get so it was hot. I mean it's August and you get so dehydrated from talking to so many people and then like sweating and I think I would have made sure I drank more water. But it's funny because I also didn't really drink any alcohol. So I just wasn't drinking anything. Um and no, I think honestly, I don't know. It was so good. I think drinking more water and then yeah, just kind of like reminding yourself whatever happens happens, Like our music walking down the aisle wasn't the song I picked out because I didn't wait the appropriate amount of time to walk out. I guess I was supposed to like hold back and wait for them to finish the song and then start the next song. I was like, no, like get me down. I'm ready. Like let's just do this. So it's like little things like that happen that you're just like, oh, whatever. Like we made it down the aisle, so who really cares? Yeah.
Yeah, and like that's not something that people like inform you of. Like,
No.
okay, the song is switching, make sure you wait. Like you're ready to walk down the aisle to
Yeah.
your person, you know, like
Yeah. And I was just like, no. I was like, if I wait any longer, I'm gonna like start freaking out about it. So I was like, no, we're good. Let's just go.
and I'm sure nobody noticed too. Like it was a string quartet. It was beautiful no matter what.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, it sounded fantastic, and I still love the song. Like the song was for all the bridesmaids, so I was like, it's still a great song. But yeah, it's just kind of funny. So, um, I think those things were good, but like the little stuff that I focused on was like your nail color, like no one cares, doesn't matter. Like my hair kept coming out toward the end of the night. I was like, whatever, like just take it out then, like it's fine. So I think it was nice to just kind of like let go after a while.
That's really, really nice.
Yeah.
I love all of that. Great pieces of advice.
Oh,
Water, whatever happens, happens.
yeah.
Just let it go.
Yeah. And like in the grand scheme of things, if you get married, that's all that needs to really happen that day. And the rest is just exciting icing on top.
Yes. So those are wedding day pieces of advice. Do you have like what is your biggest piece of wedding planning advice? for couples planning their weddings, what really helped you, or what was something that you would want other people to avoid?
Make a wedding email. That was like one of my biggest, um, I think, like bless it. Like I made one at the very beginning, and that's what I only gave like vendors or anyone that because my email, I don't know about you, mine gets full of so much junk that you have to delete like constantly. And I was nervous I was going to delete something that was important or like from a vendor. And so we had a wedding email that was fantastic. We had a very strict budget, which we made in the beginning. And then as we move forward, we would like change it as, we got like real prices. Um, so that was really good to like stay on budget and then open a wedding credit card right away because that's how we paid for our honeymoon. So like our flights are, um, we had two. One was that we used for all the vendors. One was for all the like the extra stuff, and the one credit card paid for the actual like resort like payment. Like we used all our points for that. The other one paid for our first class flights. So it's like use the credit cards because you have to pay for it anyway. And so you may as well just put it all on there and then get the points and use it for your honeymoon or whatever else you do after. Like if it's, I don't know, buying things for your house or what, I don't know, whatever. But I would definitely encourage that because those were the two big things we did that I was like really paid off.
Yeah, I mean, my email also gets flooded, so I
Mhm.
can imagine having a dedicated wedding only email that you can check,
It's
once a
lovely.
day.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And the credit cards is such a big hack. Like, use those things,
Use it
get the
all.
points.
You're gonna accumulate costs regardless. So it's either you pay it. I mean, some vendors do have like a upcharge, like a 3%. So like sometimes you don't have to. But like I did a lot of the deposits on the credit cards and then because they didn't have any fees and then or they were smaller fees and then I would do the other ones like with a check or whatever works. But for the majority, because you have to buy so much stuff. Bro, I mean you don't have to, but we ended up doing that. So um, it just worked out really well, which is nice.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah,
for like a standard wedding, there's a lot that goes into it.
yeah,
So
it's
very big tip.
it's crazy. Yeah.
Are there any closing thoughts you have? Any words of wisdom you want to share for brides planning their weddings?
Um, do it in stages. Like my husband does not like to plan too much too soon. So that helped me in general just because then I had to break it up in smaller chunks. And that then ended up feeling more feasible to like kind of tackle smaller things at once. But I think coming up with a budget is like number one, and then kind of like going from there and reaching out to different vendors. Also, ask friends. My cousin's getting married in July, and she literally just shopped from all of our family's weddings and those are all her vendors. It's like everybody that she has like talked to from I think there's four of us that got married, and she just kind of grabbed from each and every one of us. And I was like, that's awesome. So like also if you like something, like I know one of my friends was talking to you about if she gets married, like she wants to use it. And I was like, that's amazing. I was like, she'll travel. I promise. She's great.
I
Um,
will travel.
yeah, so that's why I was saying, like, just also ask friends what they liked and didn't like because they're the best kind of resource too.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Makes life a lot easier with finding strangers on the internet versus pulling people that you know already do a good job.
Oh yeah. Oh, and do your engagement shoot because I think that like made us so comfortable because we already knew you. We loved working with you, so that made life so much easier for the wedding day. Because then I was like, oh, here's Gabriella. Like she's great. Everyone's gonna love her. It was
Oh,
fun.
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that helped because I tell people that it helps because it really is like a trial run. Just
Yeah.
like being comfortable in front of a camera, being comfortable like kissing in front of a relative stranger, like you don't
Yeah.
really know that person that well. And then wedding day comes and it's just like round two. Okay,
Yeah.
let's just have fun and kiss and like twirl around and have a great time.
Oh yeah, and at that point, like you had already given us so much direction. That was like we mimicked a lot of that from the like you would just tell us what to do, and it worked really well. So I was like, I also highly encourage that. That's why I was just telling a friend who got engaged at the end of last year. I was like, do an engagement shoot if you can because it just makes life easier, and then you have amazing photos that you can use for literally everything that you have to send out. It's like it's great. We use them for our table numbers. I was like, it was fun.
Yes, I loved those, and I love walking around and seeing the pictures too. 'Cause I'm like, oh, I took
Yeah,
those. It makes me
exactly.
happy.
Your hard work. Yeah.
Yes. This has all been amazing. I feel like I learned so much, even just like recapping from your
Same.
day.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad it was fully amazing and totally incredible.
It was so good. And it's one of those, like, we did everything we ever wanted to do. So now I'm like, my mom asked me the other day, asked both of us if we wanted to do it again. I was like, no,
We
I'm
hit the
good.
jackpot.
I was like, it lives in a happy little bubble in my memory, and it's good there. And we were both like, no, that was a lot of time and energy and money, and just I was like, that's why we did it, and now we're done, and no more.
Yes, and now you're married.
Yeah, I was like, and now it's like the rest of our life. Like now it's the fun part. Yeah,
Yes, definitely. That was just the beginning of the adventure.
exactly.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for joining the Busy Bride podcast. It was lovely having you
Thank
and
you.
fun catching up after your wedding.
It was so much fun catching up. Well, thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, I'm so excited for you.
Thanks. Have a great rest of your day.
Oh, thank you. You too. Enjoy.
Wow, that was amazing. I loved the wedding planning tips about using specific wedding email and also getting travel credit cards specifically for all of the wedding expenses. The fact that Alicia and Derek were able to use credit card points to pay for their honeymoon resort and a freaking first class tickets is so awesome. Like, that is incredible. And even though they parted it up for the bulk of the day, having those two private moments, no more than like 10 minutes each, allowed them to center themselves and soak everything in together, which I absolutely love. And if you loved this episode, or if you found any of this advice helpful, please share this episode with anyone you know who's getting married very soon. And please share this episode to your Instagram story and tag me at Gabriella Marie Audi, Gabriella with two L's like Classic Musical, and Audi like the car. And lastly, please give this podcast a 5-star rating and review if you found anything helpful for you. That would mean the world to me and will help get this podcast into the hands of busy brides who could use the advice. Thank you so much for tuning in. I super appreciate your time. Now go hug your person. I'll see you next Wednesday.